back working on our Project A4. We got about 157,000 miles on the clock now. As you previously seen, we've done a lot of the maintenance. But every once in a while, I'm getting this code right here for boost pressure regulation, control range not reached. It's a P0299. You see that a lot on these cars, and there's three primary reasons you're gonna get it. Most of the time it is on the older cars, the diverter. The old version had an orange rubber diaphragm and it would burst. Most of the 08 and up cars have them, and most of the older cars now have them replaced. So even if you don't want to replace yours, I'd recommend at least pulling it out and inspecting it. But it's a $50 part. Never hurts to have fresh parts in there. This is the N249 Diverter Valve. The new one. We carry these at Pierberg, which is the OEM brand. The other part that tends to be a problem is the N75, which actually controls the flow of air to your wastegate. Generally though, when this fails, you generally get over boost, not under boost. But especially on a chipped car for a $30 part, we also stock these. It's gonna be good to do. So we got a turbo here from a car we're putting a big turbo on. We got these laying around, so this way you can see it in the car. You got the inlet right here to the turbo, so that's gonna sit down here in the car. We're gonna come underneath and be replacing this valve. It's just one connector, and this one's already unbolted. 3 5mm Allens. You'll notice that there's a keyway, a notch and a notch. You'll find in the car, you really can't install it other ways. But that's how that looks out of the car, so you can see better, since when we're working on the car, it's hard to get in there. It's just the 3 bolts. This is an actually updated part with some age. We'll see if this car has the old orange diaphragm setup. That's the N249 diverter. This is the N275 frequency valve. This is what controls the boost the most. This is more when you back out of the throttle. This right here is the lifeblood between the pressure in your compressor housing that's supposed to shut open the wastegate to bring boost down. So if any of these hoses right here, there's 3 hoses. One's pressure coming from the compressor housing. One's going to the wastegate to open it to keep the boost down and not over boost. That's why when these fails, they tend to over boost. And then this is the vent, just for it to vent whatever bleeds off right into the intake track. So you want to look at these hoses, make sure they're in good shape. There's one-time use clamps. A lot of people undo them at the N75. I like to do them at the metal fittings and just take the whole assembly out. And it's held in with 2 bolts. These are good to do when you get over boost, like I said. They can also cause an under boost, fluctuation in boost, and it's a good time to check all these hoses, because if any of these hoses split on these 2, you will over boost, because it needs the pressure to crack the wastegate to control the boost. Now we're going to move on to the installation. Here's the diverter from our 2005 and a half, the N249. As I spoke about earlier, there's the orange style diaphragm, which is on the older cars, and mine is truly ripped, which is what we saw a lot of a few years ago. As you saw with the other one, it was newer like this. They're very easy to differentiate. Old style is rubber with a diaphragm. If you have this, even if it looks good, you should change it. The new style even has more preload. If you have one of these, I mean, it's good to have it, but I still change it anyways if it's more worth $50 to you on a tuned car, or especially if you're gonna mod it more. But there you go, that's the old style that needs to get replaced if you have that for sure, whether it's torn or not. Now we're gonna put the new N249 diverter valve in. You're gonna need the diverter itself and 1 bolt. This is where you're gonna get the easy bolt first. As I showed you, there's a notch, but you'll find you're only going to want to put it one way in the car. Now that we got all 3 bolts torqued, 8 foot-pounds, like I said, if you got good feel with bolts, they don't have to be super tight. You don't want to snap them off either, but 8 foot-pounds is the spec. Now we're going to put the connector on. Luckily ours is in good shape because it's never been changed. There's that little tab that needs to be there to make it stay on. And when it goes on correctly, it's going to click. You can hear that click, and you know it clicked because you can't pull it off. You don't want to pull on the wire here, but fully reinstalled, you have a fresh N249 diverter valve on this car with the Rev D. So now we're going to replace the N75 frequency valve for the turbo wastegate control. That's the one, when it fails, tends to have fluctuating boost, or it'll have overboost. Also, the lines can cause that as well. Now the T25's out, one of the mount points. We're gonna go ahead and get the other one. Yep, there goes that one. So once you broke it off like that, what you want to do is take a screw down the center and then use that to pull it out. Bolt it down. Put the other two lines up. That's it. Now that I got the one bolt and there's still some movement in it, you don't want it too tight yet. Okay, so now I got the hose hooked back to the wastegate itself. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten this clamp up since I was able to salvage one. Nice and tight. Last connection is the upper breather, which I already shoved on, since that's no pressure. So that's the N75 fully installed. Double check my connector. All my hoses are on. Now that you have the N249 diverter valve fully replaced and installed in the car, you're going to want to clear any codes you may have, and you're good to go. On the Audi A4 2.0T and all the other Audi Volkswagen vehicles with the 2.0T, spark plug gap and spark plug choice is very important. We learned a lot of this over the years, even on the 1.8T, the 2.7T, and any of the turbo cars for that matter. So this is our shop car with 157,000 miles. It's been worked on by who knows who. This is an Audi 3923. Excellent spark plug for a domestic. This thing's sitting at 44 thousandths. This car's recommended is about 28. It's where we like to run them on a stock vehicle or chip vehicle. The problem with the Audi 3923, which this car had, is it fits like 20 some odd different vehicles. They're very generic on their fitment, where if you go with NGK or Bosch, they'll give you a different spark plug for each car, just like Audi would. So this is a big no-no for idle quality, misfires, and other things, and this will also help burn up your coil packs. So these, get rid of those. So here's factory Bosch. We sell these, we carry these. Check it out on our website. This is a double platinum. These come out of the box usually between 31 and 32 thousandths, which is acceptable for stock or, you know, a mildly chipped car. The heat range is same as stock. So there's that plug. For performance applications, pretty much once we tune a car, whenever possible, we switch to the F5 DPOR or the FR5 DTC. The stock plug that's usually around 31 to 32, we actually will gap those at 28 because they do a lot better under boost and they'll last longer. So if you want to go to heat range cooler, this is the F5 DPOR. These are not cheap, they're over 10 bucks. They're a side fire and they're gapped in the low 20s. Found over the years, especially big boost, big turbo, you want to be sub 25 if you stick with a standard style plug. Over $10, good option. We've used them for years. We've used them in all kinds of different turbocharged Audi, Volkswagen vehicles. This is the FR5 DTC. They're under 5 bucks. They're tri-electrode. They're copper. Copper conducts electricity better, so it actually helps fire easy. These are in the 20s, the mid to low 20s on gap as well, if you actually check them with a rod. These are what we run on most applications because of the copper, allowing better conductivity, less abuse on the coil packs. And since they're cheap, you know, you change them out every 20, 30,000 miles, you're able to check the health of your engine and do all that. So those are the 3 primary plugs for the 2.0T. These are 1 range colder on a 2.0T. When you're dealing with the older 1.8T or 2.7T, these are gonna be 2 range colder, the 5 Bosch series. But generally speaking, all the cars, we just throw the FR5 DTC. That's what we even include with our turbo kit. F5 DPOR, if you want that longer mileage out of it, great plug, but just not as cheap. Looks like we're pretty near the end of this one. Nothing left. We bought this car with 150,000 miles and a bad transmission. We've been driving it since we did the transmission and a timing belt for probably a few hundred miles to make sure everything's worked out of the bugs and whatnot. So that's why we're putting a new cam follower in it, which is good we're doing. It's definitely seen better days.